So welcome back to Jet Part 2. So in the previous video you saw me making that drilling. I'm sorry, there's nothing I can do about that. We're having our road completely tarmacked, costing £35,000. I can't do anything about that noise, and so I must apologise for the sound. So Jet 2. So the idea was, in the last video you saw me building my own wing, which I'm just waiting for the covering to come through, and the next thing is I've got a new box from Andy, because Andy saw my wing build and said, mate, I think I can do you've got a very cunning idea for doing a fuselage. So this is out of Andy's head. It's a fantastic concept, and let me just show you the bits. What I'll do is let me just get it all out, and then I'll show you the bits, and then we could talk through the build process, and then we'll be building that together. But this noise, I'm sorry, it's not a lot I can do about. Okay, let me talk you through what's in the kit. So the central core is Depron. It's that B&Q foam that we like. And as you can see, it's very kindly cut out servo wire. That's for the tail surface. So the idea is this is then going to get glued together. Then these masses of sticks, the idea is this is going to be used to line the whole thing on the outside, like so. Then I've got two of these fuselage sides, so I've got a left and a right. I've only got the right one out just to show you. So they're then going to get glued to the sides. Also, we have two of these, and the idea is they're going to get sandwiched together. That then sits on here, like so. And then that is ready for the fin to notch lovely down inside there, and he's also done me a new tail surface as well. Right, the board might look all shiny. Let me just give you a little bit of advice on this one, just for this particular build. And one of the reasons why I don't normally show this or use this is purely for videoing. I mean, you know, it's lovely and flat, but that's puckered slightly. This is the material that they use for wrapping up flowers. So it's a floristry plastic sheet, very thin. And so because I'm going to be doing lots of building on plan, I just thought this would be better. This is my school pin board that I've got, which I've made a frame for. So this is how we're going to do this. I've used floristry plastic covering. Right, let's crack on. Let me show you what I've done already. Just a quickie. I have just glued those together, the two Depron sides, using Yoo-Hoo Pour. I put the glue on, left it 5 minutes, and then obviously it's a contact adhesive. I've shoved those together and I'll pin this all down. Now the next thing is these two slotted grooves, they sandwich together, and I've got them just going off with glue. So the idea is now what we're going to do is I'm just going to slowly add this all the way around using my PVA glue to give me this edge, like so. So I'm just going to slowly, I'll show you a little bit of this as I go around, but I'll show you what it is we're going to do. Okay, so I have just dispensed some of that PVA glue in a little plastic container. I'm going to apply it with a paintbrush. I'm not going to go mad with this. So the idea is I am now going to slowly work my way around the fuselage, and then as I'm adding this, I'm just going to slowly clamp. And then making sure, particularly where the slots are, we've got plenty of glue. There you go. Now a little bit more cheeky. Right there. So there's my first one. This is going at the back, and that's going to go on there like so. That clamps onto there, and I think I'm just going to use the pins if they look like they're lifting, I'll pin through, but if not, what I'm going to try and do is just clamp to the sides if I can. Right, that's my first bit, and now I'm going to work all the way around the fuselage. I'll update you as I go along. I didn't think you'd want, I know people were saying that they quite like the longer build videos, but I don't think you want to see hours of me just doing this. But if I come up to anything like a compound curve or anything that's not quite right, I will come back to you. Right, so this has got the cross, this is the cross grain. Just left it soaking for 3 or 4 minutes, and then what we're going to do is I am just going to apply the glue to this, being careful not to break it, because it being cross grain, it is slightly fragile, and I'm going to put a fair bit of glue on this one. Okay, now then, I'm just going to drop that in there like so. Going to put that in place. Some people have asked me about the pins again, so I'm going to drop a link to Leeds Model Centre. I've never been, but I understand from Andy it's a proper old school model shop, so if you live in the area, go and have a little look for me. But look at that, that has just dropped in beautifully. Right, so we've just got this little bit of bad boy here to finish off there. Right, so let me just glue these together just like that. I'm going to pin them down and then leave that all to dry. Right, quick update. I've got the fuzz. Is just curing. I've got to be honest here, I'm so tempted to lift it off, but the glue does say 24 hours, so let's not be, and I've had to add something which we'll talk about later on. It's quite amusing. I'm going to cover the wing, and Andy made a good point that the rib, the end rib, might bow in with the heat shrink, which is a fantastic tip. So I started off with, I put a strengthening gusset here, which I think we'd spoken about on the video to start off with, but in the end I've just put what was left of some of these around the outside of the stringer for the fuselage. I've just run that across there because I've got something a little bit special to go on the ends, so I just think that that's just made it bulletproof. So I'm now just going to crack on and cover this wing. I mean, heat shrink, we all know how to do heat shrink. If you don't, I'll put a little link in for my other heat shrink covering. But anyway, I'm just going to crack on with doing this. Oh right, and also, big massive mistake, Nick got overexcited, didn't he? I ended up not trimming this down. I'm not being funny. Yes. I reckon that again. It's like a fence. It's honestly, it's better than most fences. It's absolutely rigid. Right, so I am gonna crack on with this, and I'll get back to you. I must learn to calm down. Well, good morning. It's the day after, and we're now going to lift the fuselage off the bench. Now let me show you, because I had an interesting conversation with Andy yesterday, because obviously the fuselage is Andy's brainchild, and remember I did the whole thing covered in the wooden strip. Let me show you, and then you'll realise what I've done extra, but you wouldn't have needed to have seen it. Let me show you. Right, you'll notice I put another set of strip all the way around, so basically I've doubled up what I did already. And so let's just take this off the bench. If you hear a slight roaring noise, that's not the road workers, that's just my heater kicking in. And for those of you interested, it keeps it at a lovely 22 degrees in here. So I'm just going to unpin this now. I'll get most of them off. You don't need to see me completely unpinning this. And then when I've got all the pins out, we get down to the last few, I'll bring you back. Right, here we go. It's all going remarkably well at the moment. Right then. It sounds scary, doesn't it? Whoa. Ooh. Ooh. Right, there we go. She's off the bench. She's nice and square. Wow. So what I am just going to gently do is I am just going to gently go round, and if I've got any high spots like that there, I'm just going to feel round both sides just to make sure we've got everything nice and flat. Lovely. And then the next thing will be I'm going to add the fuselage sides, but I've got to think about what I'm going to do with this. So what I think I'm going to do, I think my plan of action is I'm going to get, oh hang on a minute, I just got to do this. Look at that. Look at that. Right, so anyway, back to what I was saying. Plan of action now is going to clean it up, and then I've got to think about doing this, because obviously Andy's put this in for the cable run, so it does mean I'm going to have to install a servo. I'm going to put one side in, install the servo, and then we can put the other servo side in. But yeah, I'm dead pleased with that. It's very rigid. I mean, it's going to be absolutely brilliant when we get the fuselage sides on. Cool. Right. I'm just going to have a clean up, and then I'll get back to you and we'll talk about the fuselage sides. Right, so cleaned up the fuselage, the centre core. So the idea is we are now going to glue this to here. I'm just going to put these roughly in place so you'll get the gist of what it is I'm doing. So they're all going to get glued to here. This is going on here like so. That's going on there like so. This is being left because this is the canopy. So I'm now going to PVA glue all of this, and then when I've done that, I think I am going to flip it over, pin it down, because then it means that I can then work on the other side to install the servo and then drop the other side in as well. But yeah, so that's the next progress. So I'm just going to glue this. I'll drop in little bits of video as I'm going along, but you just don't want to see me spending 20 minutes painting PVA. Right, wood on one side. Now I've got got to start forward thinking about this, because obviously I've got to put the servo in, because the servo is going to get hidden with the sheet this side. I've got to think about where the fan's going, and also with the receiver and the battery. I'd like, if I can, to try and hide the receiver and hide the speed controller with possibly like a little fairing over it, but I don't want to get over complicated, and particularly the speed controller. I'd like to see that get some cool air over it, so I might just come up with just a little sort of aerodynamic looking box for the receiver, and I'll see how I go with the speed controller. I might be able to do something that's got a little bit of venting to it. So what I've done here, let me show you. I've got my servo, this is not glued in at the moment, I've got it centered, but I've got my servo in, and so there's my servo lead there. There's the fan there. The fan's going to go in after I've got the other piece of wood in, and then I've got to start thinking about how I'm going to attach the wings, but I want to get the other side on first. Obviously the servo's hidden, and then we can start coming up with a plan with all of this. I mean, I could just velcro it like I've done before with that. It would be nice to try and hide all the wiring if we could, but I don't want to go overboard with that. So next step is I'm just going to do the second set of sheeting to go on this side. Well, another day. So I have just taken this off the bench. Oh my god, it is so stiff. You could literally hold it at end and that would support a politician's wallet, I'll tell you. It's mega stiff. I'm really pleased with that. Right, little update. Sorry about the noise out the back. It's still the road guys. Now, obviously been worrying about the C of G, where I'm going to put the wing. So I've used my CG balancer from Angel Wing Designs and just set it up, bearing in mind that we have altered the length of the fuselage slightly. Let me just show you what I've done. So there's my CG checker. It's just, look at that, that's just about right. And I think I have 20, I'll check for you in a moment what the weight of that is. I think it might be 25 grams in the front. That's the position of the battery, and obviously we want to be able to put this in sideways. What I will do is this is not the actual battery I'm using, but I've added some weight just to give this the right battery weight, and but we're going to be pretty close for that. Oh, all these things to think about. So, little top tip for putting the magnets on. How are you going to know where the magnets are next? So I've put my little template on. Going to get myself a magnet. There you go. Now I can mark round there, then transfer that to the fuselage. Can you tell I'm very excited? Right, so I had to go indoors for half an hour to calm down because I realised I'd made a mistake. Right, tailplane. With these like so, obviously there's a gap in the middle because obviously we've got the rudder, so we're going to need to come up with a torque rod of some sort. And I just happened to look across at the stick that I was using to mix my PVA glue with. Let me show you. So I'm gonna sand these. I'm not going to take a lot off the trailing edge. I'm obviously going to put a nice chamfer on the leading edge, taper the trailing edge, but not go mad. So the idea is that's going to go on there like so, and then I am going to cut a section of that into the elevator like so. I love a bodge. Right, I'm going to crack on with this And then so you don't need to see this, it's just I'm just going to round the leading edge, just take the trailing edge off, make it a little bit thinner. But I'm going to do those first. I'm not going to do it with the torque rod glued on because that's got break me written all over it. So I'm going to do the 4 bits, or the 3 bits, and then when I get to actually gluing it in, I'll show you what I've done. And then I've got a little bit of what's left of my PVA glue. This out, I might get from Angel Wing Designs. I'm just going to add the glue to this. And then we're just going to drop that in there like so. Get that in place. You could actually push this up against a ruler if you wanted to. There you go, there's one half. There's the other half. And it's pushed in there like so. Lovely. Right, quick update. I have just covered the fuselage in heat shrink. Also done the tail surfaces, and now I'm just going to start the assembly of literally just bolting in the ducted fan and then just assembling the tail. So what I'm going to do is I am going to give you, I've got some lovely stickers from Andy, so I'm just going to finish it off and I'll get back to you very shortly. Ready, steady. Oh, look at that. Right, big shout out to 2 people. Alex from Wing Helper. Obviously this was my own wing. The plug-in bit works brilliantly, and also special thanks to my old mate Andy. Look at his design of fuselage. He basically took my fuselage and came up with that great idea of lining it in balsa, and he's done with these amazing decals. I did the right red stripe. Now, if you want decals off of Andy for your models, get in touch. Does a fantastic job. And also with Alex, you know, if you're interested in doing your own building, then he's your man. So basically, I got myself a lovely little battery, 850 milliamp hour. It's 11 volt. Now, look at that. So I've managed to get that in. That's virtually the thickness of the fuselage, and all I've got is this Velcro strap. I mean, I almost thought to myself, I made the fuselage slightly bigger, that we could actually get rid of those, but that's going to really nice and aerodynamics. I'm really pleased with that. Controls I've got at the moment, obviously we're going to have to muck about with these, but that's me ailerons, that's me elevator, and I've just got to be careful with my hair with this. Right folks, the weather doesn't look brilliant for the next 5 or 6 days. Got a massive run, a very strong easterlies, but I promise you the moment I can get out, I will be out there with this, hooning the skies to the theme tune of Top Gun. I'm just off to go and calm down. Anyway, if you like what you've seen, just like and subscribe, guys, girls. I've got a couple of other fun projects in the pipeline with some exciting developments. Very exciting development coming very shortly, so stay tuned. Right.